Hello and welcome to the CGW Radio Podcast. This is the podcast for October 11th, 2006, and I am joined today by the entire edit staff of Computer Gaming World Magazine, which we still are for a couple more weeks, I think. And that staff of editors includes...
Ryan Scott,
Darren Gladstone,
Sean. Oh my goodness! Oh my! A new paradigm has been set with that introduction.
Sean Malloy.
Good to be back here. We skipped a week last week, and we apologize for that. And I also have to say, Darren, are you dying over there?
Still recovering.
Still recovering. We appreciate all of the hate mail that we got for people telling us we weren't there last week. And it means a lot to us that you actually notice that we're not there. So we are committed now to doing this weekly, right, guys?
Sure.
We always are. Someone has to leave either the country or the city or whatever for business purposes or vacation, and then it just kind of throws a wrench in the
It's
works.
part of the problem. We can't get the five of us in the same room on a weekly basis.
Well,
and
really
it's not
happens,
CGW Radio if one of us is gone.
Darren or Sean will be gone, and it's like, you don't really want to listen to me talk.
Good point.
Oh,
You've done it. You've done it.
Ryan.
I don't have anything to
No, I think
say.
he's right.
It's just less beatboxing.
Dude, I still want a funky bass line next time.
I know. That kind of messed me up.
I was
that whole
just trying
thing.
to set it up so we bring it in with a little hype.
Yeah. Someday we'll have a theme song, too, I think, eventually.
We
All
will.
right, well, but let's get this moving. Shall we? We have a lot to talk about. We've all been playing many new things. I think neither Sean or I have played WoW for a little while now, which is kind of amazing. So we have other games to talk about, all of us. A couple of big things happened. PC Gaming had an outstanding week on national TV this week, so we'll talk about that a little. We have usual news bits. We're going to try to get at least one reader letter in. But why don't we start with the usual and find out what we've all been playing, and hopefully some new stuff. And new stuff on the PC would be good.
It's a start.
Ryan, I'm looking
Why are
at
you
you.
staring at me?
What the hell are you playing, boy?
I've been playing the new Sam & Max game.
Me
which
too.
I think we've all been waiting for a while.
It's kind of funny. Like as soon as they gave us the codes for that, like I think like every one of the editors is like, okay, is there a code so we can play it too?
Yeah, it's a cool game. I don't know really how much I should say about it since it's not out until next week.
Okay.
But for everybody who's been waiting, 13 years or whatever for a new Sam & Max game, you're going to love it.
Does it feels like Sam & Max to you?
It totally
They got
feels
it right?
like a good kind of classic style adventure game. Some people on the forums have been complaining about the characters' voices.
You know what? I was about to ask if you would check this out as well, because there's a little war. Like, I'm an audio snob. There's a bit of a warble with like anytime you listen to they have any word with an S in it, it sounds like it's kind of getting, I don't know, just messed up a little.
But you're talking about actually like the voices themselves.
The voices
in terms
of Sam
the
and Max.
characterizations.
Well, it's the
of,
same guy, right?
Right. Well, no, it's not. I mean, they're the two guys who voiced them for the original game. I know the dude who did Sam's voice was Bill Farmer, the guy who does like Goofy and a bunch of other Disney characters. And these guys, I guess the rationale that Telltale gave us for why they weren't using those guys is because they couldn't commit to like a monthly schedule, just because they're like career voice actors.
Mm-hmm.
So they have some very good sound alikes. And some people on the forum are kind of angry at it, but I didn't have a problem with them.
If you don't know the old ones, though, obviously that's not going to matter at all.
Right.
How are the puzzles in the game?
It's all good kind of Sam & Max logic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems pretty consistent. I mean, it's not like you're gonna. I mean, you have to think like that weird logic, but it's on par with how it used to be.
And it's nothing that's going to get you stuck for too long.
Mm-hmm.
They're all fun puzzles.
And the new one, the next episode is. Oh well, the first one isn't even out yet.
Right. This is the first episode.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it's coming out.
next one next month.
So who are these people talking on the forums if the game isn't out yet? How are people bitching on forums?
Are they basing
Well,
off the trailers?
they're going off of the voices from the trailers.
Oh,
which
okay.
I mean, it's the same voices that are in the game.
Okay.
But
That's got to be great. Your game isn't even out yet, and you already have people on the forums.
That's not the way it's supposed to be.
Sheesh.
That's a good set.
Can't freaking please anybody.
Thanks, Ingrates.
But it like all the humor and all the other stuff that people are hoping they get right. I think they got it right.
And but tell people about how long episode 1 took you to play.
Well, if you're like me and you take the time to explore every nook and cranny and every dialogue choice, takes about between 3 and 4 hours. Which, I mean, we expected that. It's episodic.
Right, it's episodic.
And
the price structure on that is what? How much is that going to cost?
I know it's available on GameTap, and I think GameTap's like $10 a month.
Right.
Yeah.
I know it's going to be available on Telltale's site as well. I don't know what the price is, though.
On a somewhat tangential note, not that I'm pimping for GameTap, but I did notice that. But I did notice actually. Excuse me, let me put this 20 away. All right. They're actually I just got a press release. They're rerunning all the original Cinemax cartoons from the Fox network on GameTap as well.
Right. They just announced that yesterday.
Right, which I thought was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is cool.
So I barely remember seeing those shows. I think they're just kind of like a blip.
They were on for a season. That I believe they won some sort of best new cartoon awards, and were taken off the air for what I think are political reasons of some sort.
Wait, Fox takes shows off the air prematurely?
Huh.
I love that show.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Well, now it'll be back up on GameTap, so that's kind of cool.
That's cool. You playing anything else, Ryan, or is that about it these days?
That's the big one.
Okay. So that was a 3-hour game, and you've played nothing else in 2 weeks.
Well, I also played.
Times.
I also played a fan remake of King's Quest III.
Oh yeah,
which we're actually reviewing for the first issue of Games for Windows.
I'm excited about that precedent we took. If I may toot our own horn for the moment, we reviewed officially a fan-made remake of a game. So I think,
that's a totally free game?
Did we like it?
Mm-hmm.
Did we like it?
It was,
oh, got a good review. Okay.
I mean, it's a remake of a 20-year-old game that by today's standards isn't terribly complex. But I mean, if you remember that game and you liked it, and you like the old Sierra games, this is a really, really good remake.
So when you say remake, is it a true just like line for line text remake of like the entire game, or is it just
the dialogue is mostly the same?
Is it free?
It is. Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
It's made by a group of programmers that call themselves Infamous Adventures. Mm-hmm. Their website's www.infamous-adventures.com.
And they haven't gotten any heat from Sierra about this, or?
From what I understand, Sierra has kind of blessed these remakes. They've said okay, you guys can do these. I mean, as long as they're not selling them for profit or whatever, it's probably
that's amazing. What a labor of love that is. I mean, they're getting no money for this at all. I mean, who has the time to do something like that?
Yeah, they look really good. They're classic Sierra games.
Well, that's great. I mean, actually, have you checked? Actually, I'm kind of curious. Have you checked out The Silver Lining? That's another. It's inspired by all the King's Quest games, and
I was looking at the website the other night, but I didn't actually download it.
I actually just downloaded it. We should probably check it out for next week.
I mean, is it just a beta? Is it the full game? Or?
Well, the way I think they're breaking it out into a trilogy almost. So it's 3 episodes or something. And since they've been kind of slaving away on this thing for a while,
right?
They decided to release the first segment. So it's supposed to take place after the last King's Quest game.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Darren, how about yourself?
All right. Well, I also been playing Cinemax, and I'm loving it. Let me see. There was something else. I got my hands on a preview build of Gothic 3.
Oh,
so
nice.
I'm pretty psyched for that. Although on the machine that I have at my desk at work, it's kind of dog slow, and I'm having some bug issues. Sean, did you ever get yours figured out?
No, I wasn't able to install it, but that's pretty. I don't know. That's pretty frightening if you're calling the machine that you have at work insufficient for this thing. I think it's probably 3 times the machine that most of our listeners.
That's probably true. I mean, you should see the machine I have at home. I built this Frankenstein monster of all the high end bleeding edge stuff, and at home it looks great.
This actually worries me about all these upcoming games.
I don't know though. I was warning Darren that.
Well, I was turning up the settings all the way.
There's been a big stink in certain places. Something awful forums about European reviewers who were given. Because the game's coming out being released in the EU before it is here.
Okay.
And the initial review code that they were giving, what was labeled review code, was very buggy and had a lot of problems. And it caused all this concern. And then a week later, though, they reissued the review code. And they came back with completely, positive things to say about it. That okay, now it's this isn't an issue now. They fix it. So I was wondering, Darren, which one you got?
Well, I mean, it was obviously a preview build. I mean, there's some stuff that needs to work out. I mean, and I hadn't had a chance to get too deep into the game because it's a huge world to explore. But it's the interactions with the world and the initial areas are just, it's pretty cool. It's like the next logical evolutionary step of like if you played Gothic 2, where it's this huge open world that exists whether you're doing something or not, and like there's things in the environment like you'll have hunters hunting deer, and it'll be different every time.
So ecological AI sort of
exactly.
along the lines of...
I haven't had a chance to really explore how deep into it goes, but I mean, there's obviously the quest structure and following the course, but it's pretty cool.
Pretty interesting to see how that turns out, because that's something that's so high and ambitious, but like how much does it really matter to your experience?
Yeah.
Like, well, if a tree is falling in a forest and you're not there to hear it, who gives a crap?
Well, I think the idea is to kind of convey that like a world that exists without you, sort of like kind of in a way like massively single player, like what Oblivion tried to do.
Right.
Kind of convey that MMO feel without actually talking to other people.
Well, this game is supposed to kind of be the Oblivion killer, right?
We'll see about that. I mean, and as far as like you're saying,
no one's positioning it that other than diehard Gothic 2 fans,
right?
And it might very well be the case. But I will say I don't think that it's not that Aspire's coming out and saying, hey, like.
Well, I mean, those guys are thrilled that Oblivion just like kind of set the precedent, right?
Well, it kind of like put it more to the forefront. That's for sure.
Well, it's one of those every Oblivion buyer is a potential Gothic buyer.
Yeah, right. And actually, the combat is
probably not competing at this point.
The combat's pretty cool in this. I mean, like the few observations I do have so far is that when I was able to get it up and running, it's actually pretty cool. I mean, it's you can do you play in first person a la Oblivion or pull out to the third person. There are obviously little exploits I've found in the world already, like I go boar hunting or something, and you can get them caught on the foliage and just start pecking away with an arrow or something.
Are they clipping through the geometry of the trees, or did you set a trap or something though?
It wasn't even a trap. I was getting chased by a pack of wild boars, and like I kind of ran over some stuff and jumped through a corner, and they couldn't figure out to get back up and come around.
As a feature.
That's not a bug.
That's a feature. Yeah. So obviously it's not final, but then again, you were saying how they were releasing it as review code in Europe, and they do that a lot. I mean, like maybe it's because the reviewers there are a lot more lenient with their reviewing. I mean, Call of Juarez came out a month ago,
but it did come out. I mean, it's out there.
I know that's what I'm saying. Is like it's out there, and here like Aspire is intentionally holding it back to do bug checking and like tweaking on it.
I suspect, I don't know, for Call of Juarez here, I suspect it's more of a market and timing thing.
Well, I think they actually said they want to do some more tweaking with they actually like change the voice acting and stuff like that. But I mean, cool. It seems to happen a lot though.
Right.
And what else there, Darren?
Just a quickie. I know we can't go on too far today, but a game that actually I was kind of surprised by that I don't totally hate. It's a very Max Payne-ish, but El Matador.
El Matador.
El Matador.
It's just the Matador.
That'll make a good box score. This is a game I don't totally hate. Darren Gladstone.
They'll put a sticker on it.
Yeah. Cover up the other sticker on the cover right there.
Yeah, we don't have enough stickers on our boxes. On game boxes. We got to work on that. We got to work on our sound bites.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have to hone our skills on these podcasts to come up with like a better.
Right. So you might want to hone it better than a game I don't totally hate.
Who's the? I'll come up with one right now.
I won't totally dump on the box.
Who's the developer for Matador?
I don't know. Senega? No, it's a publisher. I don't know.
Okay, we'll just put the usual. Let the frame rate quicken and the visual slicken. Put that on.
I'm bullish for Matador.
Oh man!
Sorry.
Wow. Thanks.
Wow.
So it's basically a Max Payne-ish type.
It's Max Payne. You're a DEA agent in South America and intrigue. It's just kind of like you're running around shooting things. You can hold like the unrealistic. You can hold 20 billion weapons at the same time. Like, it's basically check your brain at the door and just shoot stuff. Mm-hmm. It's all right.
That's the second.
The trick is if it's actually priced okay. I mean, if it's like a $20 game, I could say it's worth checking out.
That'll be the second game in the past few months set in Latin America.
I was just thinking that Latin America is
the new Nazi Germany. Turn in the sun, or I mean, is it just a coincidence in the same way that like You got Armageddon comes out at the same time as
Deep Impact.
Yeah. All that.
Ants in A Bug's Life.
Yeah, ants, sharks, and little Finding Nemo.
Right.
It's kind of like that zeitgeist of the era.
Everyone's thinking about bugs or
Right.
South America.
Because what, Just Cause was the other one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another one of those games that was just like it doesn't totally suck, but at the same point, there's so many flaws that keep it from being great.
Once
so we
again,
got doesn't totally suck as a sticker and could be worth $20.
I think this is why we don't show up on game boxes. Sean, I know what you're playing, but tell us anyway.
More and more company heroes, but I can make this different because I've been playing multiplayer thoroughly, extensively. And one thing I wish we would all play the same game for once, because I want to be able to come in and talk about specific games we played, stuff that happened in them,
if it wasn't
in a
traveling so
specific
much.
game.
We're islands among men. We don't play games together.
Yeah.
Can I be Switzerland?
Or even playing it at home. Everyone here was like, "Oh, this company heroes, it's hot," you know. And it's like I want to come in the office in the morning and hear some stories about something messed up that happened or something.
Sean and I always have WoW stories for each other.
You do, I know. That's how it works. But so I've been playing Company Heroes multiplayer, more and more games, different accounts, and just sort of since I'm relatively new to RTS, I'm just kind of digging aspects of multiplayer gaming in that genre that I wasn't accustomed to.
Is this really the first RTS that you've gotten like this into?
It is since like Warcraft 2.
Okay, wow.
So it's been a long time, and it's to the point where now I'm excited about like Medieval 2 and whatnot. But some of the things that are interesting already now is everyone's smurfing, which is basically making a new account with a different name. So you basically have a clean stat record, because what happens is, you know, you have a good stat, and I have a good on my main. I have a nice ratio. It's like 40 wins to like 6 losses or something. But what happens is people come in, see that, and immediately leave your game. And the big problem, unlike, you know, an FPS where you jump in, you've got a game going, you get these scenarios where you're sitting there waiting for someone to come. You go to the chat channel just begging people, "Hey, come on, join my game. And a million other people are doing it. They all sound like, you know, carnival barkers and stuff in there. And then the other people in the chat channel are arguing about like what we should do about Iran, what we should do about this, whether if the Koningstiger, the King Tiger was the best tank ever made, whether their stupid strategy is completely like, you know, foolproof. And they're always arguing about this and that, and you're like, "Hey,
is there any hot chat
just
going on there?
Shut up and get in this game and play. Come show me how cool you are." And then so you finally get that going, and then you make a game called like Noob's Realm or something, right?
Yeah.
And you start playing, and it's clear within the first few seconds that everyone in there who had basically a clean stat record and was calling himself a noob comes in saying, like, "Yeah, I just got this game from Best Buy right now. I'm ready for my first game, and I ain't playing Axis because I've never tried it." And then you go and play, and it's like, like I said, 2 seconds in, they're doing the stuff that only a veteran would be pulling off on you, and you're like, "Hey, you lying sacks of shit! You're not new." And then they turn it around on you.
But then again, aren't you the same guy, right?
That's the oldest tactic in the world. If you want to be guaranteed to play with like 4 veterans, you start a game called Noobs Only.
This is the oldest tactic in the book, but I'm the newest like player in the RTS fold, so it's still exciting and fun to me to learn the ropes of all this kind of stuff.
That's every RTS.
Every RTS.
It is.
Man, even Ticket to Ride, that, you know, pretty casual strategy board game that we
you
were
got
all
that
into
kind of
for a
stuff
while.
going on.
Totally. And this is a game that's, you know, that like 60-year-old, you know, housewives are playing.
Right.
You know, but even they have that tactic.
So the 60-year-old housewives are hustling each other?
Yeah, they're doing, Noobs Only. And then it's like 4 people who have like 1,000 games to their credit, you know, but they created a new account.
Sadly, you will run into a legitimate noob, and when you do, you feel so bad. Well, you don't. You laugh and
then you destroy him first
as you annihilate him, but then you feel bad. And you can always tell in this game. The way you could tell in this game is because people's behavior will be indicative of habits like acquired in other RTSs that are fundamentally different from Company Heroes in the way they play out. So, you know, we start playing these guys, and like I throw a surveillance plane over the base. I'm like, what the hell are these guys doing? Like, they're supposed to be capturing victory points, and meanwhile they've got 5 bunkers up, and they're in the process of putting MGs on them. Just this profligate waste of resources for no good whatsoever. Because our main goal in this case is not to go, you know, annihilate and rape their base. It's to get these victory points first. And so you see that, and you're like, okay, well, must be an Age player. And then you see the other thing, and you're like, okay, that guy must be a Rise of Nations player, and so on and so forth. And but it's cool because you can tell. I mean, it just sort of shores it up that this is an RTS that's unlike the other ones, at least in excluding, what Ryan is about to say, Warhammer 40,000, also by Relic, and what you're playing now, Dark Crusade.
Right.
If you want to go into that.
Yeah. My whole problem with playing online is really what you're talking about. I used to play RTSs online all the time, and now it's just like dudes scamming each other all the time.
Yeah.
Like I would play with you guys because I would play with people I know because there's a reasonable chance we might actually have a good game. But I don't want to play with 3 guys who are just laughing into their team speak while they screw me.
Which is pretty much what I've been up to. I mean, I've been on the receiving end, and a lot of times I've learned the techniques for screwing other people by being screwed myself. Like one technique that we started using the other day is basically Allied rushes hard. You save all of your resources in a victory point mode. Instead of, you go and cap the resource bases that you need, but you don't sweat making engineers and snipers and MG guns and stuff to fortify what victory points you get. Instead, you save it, get a half track out, have it so that you can immediately send it to the enemy's HQ, and you and your teammates are both doing this. And by the time it gets there, it's upgraded to the quad gun. At that point, it'll just start mowing down anything that they've got building. And then if you're airborne, as soon as it mows down a few guys, you're leveled up enough to drop paratroopers, and then it just goes from there, and you can end the game in a few seconds. And then there's the other thing, and I might as well say this. At first, I thought, I'm not going to tell people about this because it's too much fun to do and make people just throw their arms up and fit and start screaming. But it's going to be fixed. They have to patch this. But basically, on the Axis side, if you get your Grenadiers and you go the Terror Doctrine, and you basically rely on the Zeal power and Inspired Assault, and what happens is you get your Grenadier, you equip them with Panzerfaust or Panzerschrecks, and you get them down to one guy by throwing grenades at your own guys. And because Zeal makes a squad more powerful, the fewer people are in it. Basically, it's just sort of like, you're my homies died, so I'm going to go aggro now. So you do that to yourself, and you let him sit in the back, and then you put him in a half track. You run that to the enemy's back base, and you let him out, or as many of these guys as you can make. They have to be in their own squads, though. You let him out and hit Inspired Assault. And what he starts doing is firing his rocket at every, main bunker and headquarters with the speed of a rocket launcher in an Unreal or a Quake or something, as opposed to the god-awfully slow reload time of a real-life Panzerschreck or Panzerfaust, and will destroy everything in their backfield in 30 seconds. And we're going to put, actually, we made some videos of this, and we'll put them up on our forums today. So if you listen to this and you want to go to CGW forums, you can check out a video of this awesome tactic.
It's glad to know that you're playing the game in the spirit of World War II realism. First, let's throw grenades at our own guys.
Right. That's the thing, is everyone in the damn channel is having these pseudo armchair general, macho nerd arguments about what's the best piece of armor in this game and stuff. But the whole thing is, it's so gamey. It's like a sniper can be 10 feet from someone and they don't see him.
Yeah.
And we're talking about open ground. He's just sitting in a field with no grass or anything, and it's just, it operates like a game. It's still easy to get into the mood and feel, hey, this is World War II, but come on, man, you don't start bringing real world armor stats and this and that to it. It's very much a game.
Mr. Malloy?
Well, I haven't been playing WoW, which
excellent,
is giving me withdrawal pains.
You get DTs as you're
kind of shaking over there.
Yeah. A little bit. But I have been playing some Mage Knight Apocalypse.
That's right.
So
and
yeah.
Not so hot.
Once again,
Not so
another
hot.
box quote. Sean Malloy.
It's pretty mediocre.
That's too bad because it looked good back when we were.
It did.
Yeah, it's kind of it's easy to call it a Diablo clone because it's got 5 characters that you pick from, and then each character has the 3 different talent trees. So it kind of has that same structure.
Then you click on stuff till they die.
And you click on stuff. It's actually a little more complicated than just spamming a fireball spell or whatever. Because I found myself doing a lot more crowd control-y stuff. Making sure to fear people and root people, and I don't know if that's just my.
Play Titan Quest?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
It does feel it does feel a little bit more. It feels like a hybrid of a WoW-ish and then an action game as well. I mean, the one thing
you can tell that they wanted to kind of tap into WoW because the NPCs have the same exact giant exclamation point over their head if they're doling out quests.
I guess that's just becoming a gaming convention though now.
Right.
At this
I mean,
point.
there's the equivalent of that in Guild Wars. Right. And
It's the same thing. It's an exclamation point.
Right, big golden exclamation
it's pretty much
Vanguard is actually not using that.
I don't think people don't play WoW for the exclamation.
I know. But I'm just saying, like, when you see that, you're
these
just like,
rotten thieves stole our fucking grammar.
There's like
punctuation thieves.
The biggest problems with it are like the allied AI, like any NPCs you pick up to help you out, like they're just so stupid.
Yeah.
Like they'll just stand there as you go forward. And like I was playing this necromancer, so I could animate any dead body, and like it'll be my little friend. And, like, but most of the time, like half the time, if you animate like the werewolf you just killed, they'll just kind of hang out and not do anything
and
like,
not attack.
Go get him, but
and you can't control him directly. You
have
click on him and send
you have
him.
3 little mini commands to attack, follow, and stay. And
so it's kind of the same sort of stuff as in WoW.
Sometimes they want to attack if you tell them to.
That's annoying.
Yeah.
There was
if you're going to kill something and bring it back to life to do your bidding for you, it better frickin' do your bidding.
I mean,
you know?
I'm supposed to be controlling.
That's what I'm saying.
That's like a unique frustration of these type of games is just yelling at units. Why don't you freaking do this? Like, they sit there, you get so mad, just blow a gasket.
So it's kind of like a bad WoW group in a way.
Awesome. We're just full of great box quotes today.
Yeah, the other thing, another fundamental problem, I tried playing Mage Knight as well, and I guess one thing that kind of annoyed me was it kind of masquerades as an action game because you can use WASD controls to move your character, and it's a convention of I hate this in every MMO when someone throws a fireball or something throws a fireball at you, and then you run out of a building, or you want to dodge that. You don't want to sit there and wait for the thing to hit you square in the grill. So, and then somehow that magically follows you around the corner and hits you anyhow.
Right.
Yeah. This is something,
and it does that in this game a lot.
It's like a single player game, or even like a not massively multiplayer game like this. Like, there's certain things that massively multiplayer online role-playing games do because of like network latency issues. So like you can't dodge out of the fireball's way, and they do it that way where it's like an auto attack, like it automatically follows you wherever, just because like the logistics of networks right now just don't let it happen.
And that's completely fair.
Right, but like when you're doing the single player game, like you should.
There's really no excuse.
You should be able to dodge.
Yeah, there's a lot of this legacy MMO gameplay.
Right, because in real life, when fireballs are coming at us, we don't have latency issues.
Right. Well,
I can dodge out of the way of a fireball.
Like,
right.
when
Just case,
like
your wife just rolls over in bed and avoids it.
Ouch.
Hello.
Wow. Oof. Holy mackerel.
I was talking about the Dutch oven, man.
Oh, okay.
Lest there be some confusion.
Right. Wah, wah.
Wow.
So I've been playing Dawn of War Dark Crusade, which is kind of amazing. I mean, so Relic put out both these games in 2006. The Company of Heroes, clearly an awesome game, probably in our shortlist for Game of the Year so far, I would say.
Definitely on that short list.
And but now they also put out this expansion to Dawn of War, the second one, and it's sort of like the first one, Winter Assault, in that it's like, huge and generous and, pretty great of them to do, I think, because they're not just throwing like, you do get each existing race gets a couple more units, kind of the typical thing. There's more maps, but they added a whole new mega game, like a Risk-style meta game of conquering the planet, and they added 2 new whole races. And you don't need the original to play it. So
wow,
I do hope that
cool.
tendency to expand on things that frequently carries over to Company Heroes.
Yeah, I hope so.
I mean, it's a good thing.
I think Relic's been always pretty consistent about that.
They are on an amazing roll right now. I mean, the only bad thing about Dark Crusade, I would say, is just in comparison to Company of Heroes now, it feels kind of like Company of Heroes 0.5.
Right.
Company of Heroes is such a refined and expanded version of what Dawn of War was.
Right.
It's a little hard to go back.
And it's also in terms of the appearance and stuff, too. I mean, like, looking over your shoulder when you were playing this game, it looks good, but it looks like it has almost the exact same interface as Company Heroes.
Pretty much.
Look at the whole setup on it, but then you look at the stuff on screen, and it's just lacking, like, some of the normal mapping and the physics.
There's no physics really at all to speak of.
Explosions and stuff, yeah.
But still a lot of fun. And I'm also on the Vanguard beta now. I went down to see it last week at Sony for this big press event, and they gave us all beta accounts. And, it's pretty good so far. I think, actually, am I off NDA now? Am I allowed to say anything? I think so.
Well, let me see.
What's today? Is today Wednesday?
Today's the 11th, so NDA lifted yesterday. So
awesome.
There you go.
Yeah. So they're in an interesting position. If you don't know this game, this is the two guys who made EverQuest originally, EverQuest 1. It's Brad McQuaid and Jeff Butler were the two original developers and designers of EverQuest. And this game, Vanguard, has been in development for, 5 years now, I think. Is when we first started seeing it, and it was originally a Microsoft in a Microsoft first-party game, and now it is being published by Sony. So they're kind of back home. The prodigal sons have returned to Sony Online with a next-gen MMO, and they're currently dealing with the fact that they've got the 8,000-pound gorilla in the room now. I mean, they essentially...
And just even like a name like Vanguard or something, like what is it? Like what does it conjure? Like, I mean, maybe it's not the case, but I mean, just what comes to mind when I hear that is like a box with a dude holding a sword on it.
Totally high fantasy.
And yeah.
Well, that's what you're getting.
It is.
That's what you're getting. But it's not like these aren't dumb guys. They're very smart game designers, and they have a good awareness of their place in the universe and the fact that WoW exists. So watching them develop this game now is pretty interesting because they're trying to take those lessons from WoW, of the things that WoW did right, and they're also trying to make it they're trying to gear it towards a more hardcore player, but they're also trying to send the message out that, like, don't be scared of it. If, they're worried now that original message, like, this is a more hardcore MMO, is going to frighten off the...
Are they worried about that, or are the PR people worried about that?
No, they're worried about it, too. They are. They're worried that this perception has kind of gotten out of hand.
Because I've seen those kind of weird flip-flops, like, say, with the Splinter Cell that's coming out, that's on the way. They've sort of done that. It's like at one point they're talking about how they've made it far more accessible, and then they start get worried, and you see memos about how no, it's deeper than ever, and it's like, well, you got to make up your mind. I mean, going for the Barnum principle on.
Doesn't matter. I'm still looking forward to that either way. I don't care what.
Oh yeah, totally, completely. I'm just referencing it in terms of like just that whole like who is it? I mean, it's always a cake and eat it too thing for PR. That's
it is a cake and eat it too thing. Well, what's interesting is that the later game, higher game stuff that they've shown and that I saw last week looks really great. I mean, they have great ideas. One thing about coming after WoW is you can take what WoW did right and wrong, and of course learn from that. Mm-hmm. So, like, one thing they've done, WoW in Burning Crusade, the upcoming expansion, you are going to be able to have flying mounts, and so you can fly around on your mount in the new areas. Because in the existing World of Warcraft world, it would break the game if you were able to fly around. So Vanguard learned from that. So the entire world is being built so that you could fly around in it. So they can create like whole continents like way up in the air that you can see when you're a lowbie or a newbie, but you won't be able to get to until you're like 40 levels higher. So stuff like that is just kind of neat.
Did you
world stuff.
Play the game at all?
I did. Yeah.
Did you now? So aside from talking about like the quality of the ideas and this and that, your gut reaction, or rather the hairs on the back of your neck, did they tell you it's likely that I'm going to like this will become my replacement for World of Warcraft. B, this is cool enough that I'm going to like sit down with it when it comes out. I'm going to buy it and I'm going to see if it can become either a complement or a replacement for World of Warcraft, or C, like there's some cool ideas here, but who really knows? I mean, like what is your instinct telling you?
That's a good question. And really, what happened was they let us play it all day long on last Friday down there. So I got my initial character, who was a gnome sorcerer, up to level 8 or so.
You like those gnomes?
You're just going to be playing gnomes for us.
I like gnomes. Yeah, that's some. I don't know. I'll talk to my therapist or something going on.
You start naming all your characters the fetishist.
And my experience, and I talked to the developers about it after I played all day. My initial gut reaction was, well, that higher game stuff that they're talking about is really neat. I do want to have a flying mount. I would like to have a house where I can do certain things on that would be cool that you can't do in WoW. But
it's that minute to minute stuff.
But those first 8 levels, they're so painstakingly trying to get that ease of use that WoW has and that friendliness that I did ask them, like, well, if I bought this game and I don't know about all that higher level stuff, how am I going to not think that this is just a WoW clone?
Right.
Because honestly, that is how those first few levels felt in
just
a way.
When you're going around beating on stuff to level up,
You're
right?
basically beating on little spiders, and just like every other.
Let's look at it
MMO.
this way: say if some fool can get whatever an Escalade with like 20s or whatever, but he's got to work at Taco Bell. I mean that's the sort of scenario we got. You got a fly mount, but what does it matter when like the game in this case is like working with the 7 famous ingredients at Taco Bell?
Right. I think it's the
trick is having the game that starts off with giving you make you feel powerful from the beginning to some degree, I guess. I mean, like City of Heroes tried doing that. You started off with a series of powers, and you were just beating up guys, but you were beating up crooks down the street as opposed to like killing a rat.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's tough. I mean, you got to capture people within the first half hour, 15 minutes even. And so if your game is about grander ideas and bigger ideas, it's hard to. I think they're in a like tweaking refinement phase, and they're the first ones who will tell you that I think they're working on this early game experience. One thing I know that's different than WoW is that you're going to get your first mount at level 10, which is very early compared to a game like WoW.
Right.
Where, the mount in WoW is like the big thing to aspire to that takes quite a while to get to. You're not to level 40 till you get it. So you'll have a mount in Vanguard, at least the way it's currently designed, at level 10, which you can get in just, a few hours of playing, basically.
It's just like a Schwelen bowback horse or something, though?
Exactly. But that's an innovation that WoW doesn't have. There's going to be levels of mounts. Your mounts will be able to wear armor. They're also talking about combat on mounts, which WoW doesn't have either.
When you say combat, it's just like, your usual combat of just like push the one key to your hotkey fight, and then
sure.
Well, that's how
that's how
I know.
WoW doesn't have combat on mounts.
No,
I'm just
if you get attacked on your mount,
that's what I'm saying.
You're automatically bumped off your.
Even Ultima Online had combat on mounts.
Always the UO snob. It was way better back in Ultima Online.
Oh yeah, it was.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, so I'll keep talking about Vanguard over the coming weeks if I keep playing it.
The problem it's going to have is that, like, in my WoW guild, for example, or even among my little friend group, like, the level of interest is like, well, I might try it. And then the chance of all the people who might try it in your guild or whatever actually getting hooked, based on what I'm hearing here, like, within the first 10 levels, sounds like it's going to be pretty low. And like they'll just go back to WoW, and the timing is going to be tough because like Burning Crusade is still going to be like.
Well, you can't quote me on it, but I believe that they're probably going to wait out Burning Crusade. They're not dumb.
That would be wise. Yes.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Actually, I guess you can quote me on it since I said it for public consumption. Yeah. I think they're waiting out Burning.
But I'm really interested in those high level ideas, like I've heard about like the diplomacy stuff. I'm like, oh, that's kind of an interesting extra sphere of gameplay that I haven't seen in an MMO.
To be an in-game politician as opposed to in-game golem slayer plus 10.
Yeah, no, these guys, they're smart guys and they have good ideas, but they definitely have their work cut out for them. I think it's like a question that every MMO designer is facing. How do you convince people not to play what has turned out to be one of the best PC games ever made?
It just comes up in the context every time. And it's just that mutual exclusivity of playing MMOs. It's not there for other genres, even genres that you invest large amounts of time in, like Battlefield or something. It's like, foreseeably, when Quake Wars is out, it'll be awesome because I could play that for an hour, then I can switch over to Crysis multiplayer for an hour. I could switch to Dark Messiah multiplayer for an hour. Whereas MMOs, it's really like if you're going through all that slogging and grinding and low level mounts and whatnot.
And it's also the money
and monthly fees.
It's the money, right? I mean, it's like a service. It's like having cable TV. If you're paying $15 a month for this one game, and you're still into it, are you really going to want to pay another $15 a month? It's like having, Comcast and then adding another cable service on.
Because so say ABC came through your Comcast account, and then you had to use like, I don't know, AT&T or something to get NBC and.
Right. At some point, you're just going to make that choice. I'm just going to pay the one.
Right.
It's tough.
That's the problem.
It seems to me like it would be like a similar sort of uphill battle for any MMO, like not just Vanguard.
Right. No, yeah, that's what we're saying. This is the exact same conversation we have.
I know,
every
but
time
I mean, like
an MMO comes up that's not World of Warcraft.
The people in your guild are like, oh, I'm sort of interested.
Well, Guild Wars was able to
Nothing's-
circumvent it by no monthly fee, right?
Right.
That's how they got away with it.
Well, yeah, how many people can do that? That's kind of a fluke.
Yeah, it's tough. So speaking of World of Warcraft, though, we mentioned at the top of the podcast, this was a huge week for PC gaming on TV. There was, let's see, we all know, we'll talk about it, South Park, the season premiere. That's the highest rated show on Comedy Central, devoted their whole 10th season premiere to World of Warcraft. And I think we all saw it, right? It was a pretty funny episode. Yep. And then just a few days later, on The Office on NBC, it wasn't the whole episode, but a significant scene in the episode had the folks in the office playing Call of Duty on the PC. So, I don't like to do too much like the PC rules type stuff, or the PC's not dead. But that was pretty amazing. I thought that you had two pretty high profile shows on national TV, and both pimping PC games.
And it's good to see someone playing a game on TV that's not controlled through this like pseudo Xbox Dreamcast controller hybrid.
Yeah.
And with, as we were talking about earlier, with the
sound.
Audio effects coming from an 8-bit era,
Can one of you guys do that imitation?
Waka 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 waka.
Yeah, you see a car on the screen.
A Frogger?
You see someone playing like some next-gen driving game on the screen. They're holding a controller that doesn't exist, and then you hear...
Yeah. Actually, I remember I was watching. I think it was like CSI or something, and I'm watching the show, and they actually had sound effects from. I was like Yar's Revenge from the 2600, and crazy.
Yeah, they're always holding like Atari era joysticks. Yeah, it's really annoying. So this was actually two real games that really existed. We'll talk about the South Park one, but the Call of Duty one really actually kind of impressed me. I mean, somebody at Activision did some like amazing product placement there, because they're really playing that game. You see it on the screen.
Yeah, I saw that clip out of context on YouTube, and it didn't.
Well, that's how I saw it,
and it didn't make me laugh. It didn't seem fun. It did seem like total product placement.
It made me laugh. I thought it was funny. You see the guy, who can't get around the wall. The guy who's just like wall walking, and then the female coworker just shoots him in the head. How could you not like that? But yeah, in both cases, like I don't know the story behind the scenes of either one of these. Whether whose idea it was first. Did Activision go to NBC and say, "Hey, you should put Call of Duty in your show," or did the guys who make The Office really love Call of Duty and want to put that scene in there?
Right.
And the same thing goes for WoW and South Park. I don't know who started it, but in either case, there were huge advertisements for these games.
Right. Well, the thing is that a lot of people, like, where I kind of felt that was the case for the Office one, a lot of people are accusing the South Park episode as being a glorified hour-long advertisement for World of Warcraft and Blizzard. But the thing I was saying is that I see it more as fan service, because if you don't already play that game, sit back and look at that episode and ask yourself, is this a good advertisement for playing?
Wasn't flattering.
I mean, you've got them when they sink into the end to take out their nemesis or whatever. I mean, they're just like faces are covered in chancres and boils, and like STD sores, and then the guy is like to crap. His mom comes down with the bedpan.
Oh, that was nasty.
Backblasted over. His chair, and it's like you look at these guys. Or the guy, the big like evil nemesis
big evil guy. Yeah,
like barely moves. He's got like a wrist guard on, and the only time like he moves other than like a wrist
fix his
spasm is fix his glasses or to brush Dorito from his shirt.
Yeah, that was a little too close to home for
onto the floor. And so you're watching this, and you're like, God damn, I got to get up in this game. It's not an advertisement.
You know what the worst part is? Like, I started watching the episode with my fiance Amy, and she's watching it, and she's like, 'cause she likes watching South Park, and she's kind of getting into it. And she actually pauses it and says, "Can you explain this whole thing to me?" And I'm like, and then as you see like the South Park gang like start getting like fatter and like really getting into like the game, and she's like, "Oh."
That's what's fun. Yeah, you don't even need to know what they're saying. It's like when, in the same way that pretty much anyone can listen to, us play this stuff and laugh or whatever. I mean, they're, when Cartman is like rallying the troops and it's just like, all right, I need you to put a +4, mana tap on this. It's like, it could just be sheer nonsense. In the same way that like I'd never, and this is being truthful, I'd never got into Dungeons and Dragons, but I could go around and mimic and make fun of the people doing it, because it becomes like, it's widely circulated enough as this sort of like meme or stereotype that you just pick up on it, and
on the
throw
other
in
hand,
dye and then throw in a plus something with like some kind of like item of clothing or a weapon, and you're good to go.
Well, they did. You're right. They don't make like a good case for like, here's something you should really go do because look at these guys.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I thought what was good though was that it doesn't have that. Also, didn't have that condescending. Total these guys are lose. Like there was a love of the game in there.
Right.
Like they knew what they were doing.
It was an end of the world scenario.
Right.
I mean, it was like
Of Warcraft.
it was some serious business.
South Park targets are usually pretty like lambasted.
Exactly. They didn't do like a Tom Cruise on World of Warcraft here. There was clearly a love of the game going on. It wasn't just screw these guys. This is the end of society as we know it. Mm-hmm. In fact, and these guys must play World of Warcraft, right?
Considering all the stuff they threw in there, I mean...
Yeah, I mean, if they wrote that, I think so.
And using the in-game footage, like, for significant portions of the show worked so well, because look at it would be difficult in another game, but it made, in another show, it made perfect sense in South Park, because the animation's so, like, crappy on that anyway, that, like, it's not much of a, it's not much of a jump between one and the other.
Right.
It's not like going from, Tom Cruise sitting at a computer terminal saying he needs more RAM to hack this computer or something, which is, well, that's not Tom Cruise. That's it was a Steven Seagal movie or something. Anyway, to some in-game footage, it's just like, okay, well, here's one, like artful construction, and here's another.
Mm-hmm. Now, I forget, was it like the South Park guys that actually coordinated those in-game scenes, or was that all done like on the Blizzard side?
That had to have been on Blizzard
There
side.
had to be some Blizzard involvement, because the in-game WoW characters were doing movements that WoW currently can't do.
Right.
So they were tweaking with their own enemies.
All the dialogue was lip synced and stuff.
Right.
Well, yeah. Well, that was
Right. Anyway, I thought it was pretty amazing. Just I think we can sort of take a little bit of like pride here that like the two games featured were not Xbox 360 games or whatever. So.
What?
Yeah. We're going to do one thing and then we'll take a break.
Like,
but yeah,
the fact that there was some artistic license taken to make the show like work well, such as lips that actually move in conjunction with dialogue being spoken, actually pissed off quite a few people. And so I'm going to read a few complaints from people that saw.
Before you read these, can we note the irony?
Okay,
of these complaints.
So these are hopefully ironic complaints at factual inaccuracies in the portrayal of World of Warcraft in the South Park episode.
You got to read them in character.
Do them in character.
So one person comments that, contrary to the implications in the episode, character death is at best a minor inconvenience in World of Warcraft, overcome with time, effort, and/or in-game money. One implication of this is that the boys accomplished nothing, and that the Renegade would be back at full strength less than 5 minutes after the end of the frickin' episode. And then another, known character names Big Bone for Cartman and loves to spooch for Stan would never, ever, ever be allowed. And then find some other random. Okay, here's a good one. Excuse me, but there's no spell that summons 4 scorpions as a Renegade does. Though the Renegade is possibly a hacker modder, since he surpassed level limits and is able to fight and kill others even outside of duels. Well, the problem is for that, buddy, is that how did you even get by the fact that he's just player killing people at random, or that he was supposedly playing the game every single second since it went live? But no, that's not the issue. It's the fact that he's summoning, what is it, scorpions?
4 scorpions.
Which, by the way, tells me more than enough about World of Warcraft, and it confirms why I don't play it. You fight more scorpions in that damn game.
There are scorpions.
There are scorpions. It's
Lord Galen will be proud.
I know. If I say that, I pretty much written myself out of all RPGs and whatever you'd call the
thing, though, is
you
Sean,
play Titan Quest.
They're called scorpids.
They're scorpions.
In World of
They're
Warcraft.
different.
So it's not exactly like killing a scorpion.
Right.
Okay. So back off.
Okay.
Yeah. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You don't understand, man. You weren't there.
Okay. So we're going to take a slight break and be back with more nonsense.
Listen to EGM Live to hear Electronic Gaming Monthly editors take you beyond the pages of the magazine.
Extended impressions of the hottest games.
Shocking celebrity guest stars.
Exterminate all man-animals at will!
And the newest video game soundtracks.
That's EGM Live, available at egmlive.oneup.com or the iTunes Music Store.
And we're back. We didn't even really go anywhere, did we?
No.
But we're back.
Don't break the illusion.
Oh, right. So, yeah. So, are we done with the TV stuff? Are we done with WoW?
I think we're
South
done with
Park?
that, but it'll be cool to see more of that kind of stuff in the future, as long as it's well
More
done.
product placement?
Yeah. Good.
Well,
yeah,
like I said, I don't like the South Park had a good handle on it, and it didn't feel like. I mean, it was ironic enough, and it wasn't. It didn't strike me as being product placement.
I'll tell you what I liked about both those things, though, too, is that it seemed like a very kind of cultural shift in a way. A little bit. I don't want to make too big a deal out of it, but the fact that like all of these like grown-up Office people were playing this game seemed like, okay, we're allowed to actually say now that this is a pastime people do,
right?
That isn't just like 18-year-old potential, you know,
Columbine killers. I mean,
exactly.
It's just going beyond that like illusion, that perception rather, that the media likes putting out there, that we're all just a bunch of dumbasses. Well, we are a bunch of dumbasses, but
just that it's basically a common American and increasingly world pastime that's just comparable to reading, watching television, going to movies and stuff. And quick aside on that, Jack Thompson, hate mentioning the guy. He's such a non-entity, a non-news story. But this isn't really about him, but just this funny forward in his book that's floating around the office. And actually, it's floating around the office because someone's thinking of doing a story on it. And I'm like, come on, don't give this guy any more airtime. And here I am doing it. But anyway, it said this book is dedicated to so-and-so who was killed in Columbine by a video gamer. And that was, that's pretty much what it said. But it's like, I mean, it's like saying so-and-so who was killed by a television viewer, who was killed such and such by a food eater, who was killed by a person who slept.
The labels are very weird.
Yeah.
I mean, the one that's actually, it's sort of a tangent, but the one that's bothered me all these years is you cannot read an article about Rodney King, even all these years later, without, do you know what he's called?
No.
Black motorist.
What?
Black motorist
Nice.
Rodney King.
Thanks.
When black motorist Rodney King was killed, that goes all the way back to the day it happened. It's like, what is that? What he was? He was a motorist.
That's on his business card.
What does that mean?
Business card. Wow, that is so messed
I
up.
swear, Google Rodney King, and he was black motorist Rodney King.
I'll do that. We'll see after this. But so anyway, just bringing that all up, just in terms of like getting to the point where it would seem as absurd to use video gamer as a prefix that's supposed to give you any kind of serious descriptive information about something, than saying that they're a person who reads a newspaper reader such and such, or like I said, car driver Jeff Green.
Yeah,
that's his agenda. Whatever.
Yeah, wait, no more words for that.
For that clown.
That guy.
So speaking of product placement and advertisement and all that, we have an interesting story from Mr. Gladstone. We all received our copies of Battlefield 2142 yesterday in the mail. The servers aren't up yet, so we haven't played yet, and we'll talk about that in a moment.
Well, I've played, but just not the. Well, we haven't played the retail box copy that came in.
But the interesting thing about the retail box copy, tell us what happened when you opened the retail box of 2142, Darren.
Actually, I'm going to do that right now on the air.
Okay. There he is. He's opening the box.
I actually just opened the box.
Did you hear that sound effect?
Wow,
something's wrong. We needed to hear you ripping off cellophane and peeling off two varieties of stickers, top and bottom.
I was actually thinking of rumpling paper to simulate it. Theater of the mind. But anyway, so as you open up the package, there's this one like white card, a disclaimer card that you stare right at before you right across from the disc. So it says, I'll just kind of paraphrase here. The software may incorporate technology developed by IGA worldwide, the advertising technology. The purpose of the advertising technology is to deliver in-game advertisements to when you use the software while connected to the internet. When you use the software while connected to the internet, the advertising technology may record your internet protocol address and other anonymous information. That advertising data is temporarily used by IGA to enable the presentation and measurement of in-game advertisements and other in-game objects, which are uploaded temporarily to your personal computer or game console and changed during online gameplay. The advertising technology does not collect any personally identifiable information about you, and EA will not provide. Okay, so basically they're saying...
Hold on, let me translate. Attention, spyware enclosed.
Yes. The short version is you have adware on your computer that's going to pull personal information, although anonymously.
I wonder if like the usual stuff like the Weedos and adware will pick it up when you run a scan.
That's a good question.
I'm going to have to try it because I just installed that version the other day. So
So let's take note of this.
People with the beta can test for themselves as well, which has it running. I mean, you can already see ads for, in the purple future of 2142, you can see ads for Dodge Rams and stuff like that. As you're fighting in 2142, you can get yourself a 2006 2006 Dodge.
Way to break the illusion, guys.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
I can imagine cruising around like the Neo Future landscape in my Dodge Neon.
Does that? But let's break this down. I mean, because that doesn't particularly bother me. I don't think. I mean, does it really
in-game
bother
advertising?
You know what? The only reason
we've this debate, and it seems like on the average, it's pretty tired. So maybe we shouldn't like completely rework it here. But what it seems to come back to is that a lot of us say we don't mind when it fits the context.
Yes.
So say, for example, if you're in Saints Row, a Mountain Dew billboard is really not going to be that offensive because, sure enough, if you're walking in an American
that's how I feel.
city right now. But in the future, in the frozen Ice Age, Neo Ice Age future of 2142, in the very much purple future of 2142. That's my character nick too. Now for this game, I don't know how long I'll play, but my name is Purple Future, and anyway, it just really pulls you out. It just shows you how completely ridiculous and artificial.
I haven't played this game at all,
it's the
so
same
I haven't
as if,
seen.
like in WoW, say if you're fighting a Nixie, and all of a sudden, like when you killed an ad for Depends, like undergarments popped up.
That
or
would
something.
bug the shit.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Then it's really absurd.
literally wah wah wah.
Wah, wah. But yeah, it's less the ads themselves than the fact that it's recording my IP.
It's got the goochware on it too.
Yeah, I'm not too happy with the IP recording. I'm not pleased with the pulling you out of the gameplay. I mean, if they actually made some fake ads like Dodge Silver, I mean, I know it's kind of fake Dodge from the future that with a hover car, I could dig that even.
Right, but this technology bothers me too because an in-game advertisement in a game like Saints Row or whatever it is, where it's like a one-time thing that's sitting on the disc, obviously they don't have to put a card in your box warning you because it's just an ad that they paid for. But this card is telling me if they made this card, they're scared enough to know that they've put something in this software or there's something on their server that's going to mess with you in some way or mess with your machine.
Right.
And
that's how it feels to me.
Right.
Well, I mean, clearly
if they have to make this, they're scared of something. And if they're scared, why do it in the first place? To save money on costs for developing the game?
You can see from their point of view what they're able to say to their advertisers is, hey, you come up with a new ad 6 months from now, and we can throw that ad in dynamically into your game.
The difficult
for them, it's a great revenue stream.
The difficult thing is that this game does require post-release maintenance, not anywhere along the lines of an MMO. And I mean, they do run EA runs a number of its own servers. Players also pay for it and run their own, but they also continue to patch it. But this is pretty normal stuff. It's not like they're going, really far out of their way where they say, hey, if this is going to continue, we absolutely have to find some way to generate money for this.
Sure.
And it's either charging you a monthly fee to play or it's putting this stuff in. I don't think it's really to that point yet. I think it's like, I mean, this seems like an excellent proving ground for them to test this whole thing out.
I mean, if this is legitimately helping keep costs down because they are maintaining servers and stuff, I can understand to a degree doing something. The IP logging scares the hell out of me, and I'm not really a fan of that.
I mean, it's of course the EA has been getting your IP for years and years.
Well, of course they have.
That this company,
but now it's a third party is now.
That's what I'm talking about.
And you have no idea what they're doing with it.
I know that EA has my IP. I know that Blizzard has my IP.
And
I don't care.
What if it's some Russian company or something? And the facts this becomes our next big story 6 months from now. And like you're saying, it's data mining. It's doing all these other sorts of things in addition to the service that it alleges to do through EA.
Right.
So
I don't
the same way as Star Force
IP.
or something.
It's like, do I trust EA? Yeah. Do I know the first thing about IGA worldwide? No.
Yeah, we don't know anything about these guys.
Other than that, they
might have made the
advertising
Gizmondo
technology.
Could be those same guys. It's a Swedish mafia again.
Oh, jeez. You're gonna drive an Enzo funded by my account.
Very ominous.
So it's a weird precedent. But what you were saying though, the context when it bothers me, if I'm playing online or something in a racing game and I'm zipping by McDonald's billboards, well, whatever.
Okay, fine.
Or a sports game.
Remember, and when Crazy Taxi came out for Dreamcast, it was actually
drive to the KFC.
It actually made people excited because you're like that's like verisimilitude. I get to go to Taco Bell, like I get to go to KFC or whatever.
I get to drop the chalupa.
Yeah, let's make a run for the border. But
one other tangent
of
I don't like to diss other gaming media on in public, and I don't really want to do that here, but I do find it a tad interesting that there's some Battlefield 2142 reviews appearing already. And
actually, it's not even online.
This game hasn't even gone live yet.
Right. And as we know, a print review, I mean, just for the listeners, we basically, when we finish it, it gets put into the magazine, and then we ship the magazine to, we do all these things. It goes to the printer, and there's basically a big lag time, anywhere from between, on the low end, 2 weeks between the time that it's finished and the time
our November CGW, the last CGW, is not on newsstands for one more week.
And we finished it.
And we finished it 3 weeks ago? 4
about
weeks ago?
3 weeks ago.
So
there's
right.
a big lag time.
So basically what it means is that when you're reading print reviews of this now is that the game playing that the review is sort of founded on occurred at least 2 weeks ago, assuming other publishers have a faster.
So
faster
if you see a print review of Battlefield 2142 in a magazine right now, that means that they reviewed it about at least 2 weeks ago.
Well, so the question is, what did they review?
Is this the one? Is this the issue that you borrowed from me?
No, it's another one.
Oh, okay.
It's one that's coming out now. But anyway, so the question is, what was reviewed, and in this case, we just received, like I said, the box copies yesterday. However, middle of last week, we did get a downloadable version of what was called review code. However, and this has happened in the past. However, and basically only very few people have access to it. EA's people, and then some people in the press. And usually in these circumstances, and in the past, EA has said, okay, we're going to hold these sessions at these specified times where we'll populate servers with our own testers. And I didn't receive any notice for anything like that this time. And even
actually, you were on vacation.
Okay, but in the past. So going back, most recently to the Armored Fury play session, they held them on 3 days, and they're an hour long. And I attended all three for that, and was there both, for hours before and after the session. And in no case was the server ever entirely populated. EA could muster no more than 8 or so players to join in with us, and then the press presence was limited to 4. Which would be CGW, GameSpot, and 2 fan sites. So just judging from experience, I mean, I could be wrong. There definitely could be information we don't have, and you don't want to make too many assumptions, but I'm very curious as to what and how someone could say that they've reviewed it and understand it, because even playing single player, which of course is not indicative of multiplayer experience, you only have access to the 16-player maps in this, which are highly infantry-based. Most of them have no vehicles at all. They definitely don't allow for Titan mode in single player. And this is just the kind of game that it really needs, before you can comment on any of the key stuff, is it balanced and this and that, and does it work well, you need to play it in a natural environment, So anyway, that's just our little rant on.
Yeah, no, I not trying to throw stones here. It just really I just don't even know what.
It's just interesting,
what they're reviewing.
Right.
I mean, you can't get on now.
It's probably like 8 people populating a 32-player map. I mean, that just seems like a little. I mean, I'm sure there were hopefully more people in that, but
given the version we have now, there's no one there because there are no servers at all.
It just seems premature. I mean, I found with all the Battlefield games, you kind of have to wait till it goes live on the public so you can actually get that real world experience with it.
But you have to, because I mean, within the course of a week, people are going to find all this stuff out, and if you go in and say, hey, guess what, this is all great and well and good, and then 1 week later, it takes one player to figure something out and say, hey, guess what? This is actually completely broken or something. And,
I am interested in playing it. I will play, especially because, we haven't been overly kind to this game so far.
No, you've got to, and that's been all based on pre-release versions.
It has been. So,
and the same thing is, I can't wait. I installed it. I got the game yesterday, installed it the moment I got home, and was hoping to play and see who was online, and they're just no servers, period. So, but hopefully we'll all be playing it to give it a shot, and I want to get you guys in there.
I'm going to give it another shot now that it's live.
Is anyone going to play Desperate Housewives, the game? That's on my list of stuff that happened this week. That game came out for the PC.
Yeah, who wants to review it?
I think we should give it to Sean Elliott.
Oh God! What kind of game is it? I mean, has it got like
I have no idea
clips of the ladies?
I'm guessing it's like Sim style.
I think so. Yeah.
Sim style.
That would make
sense.
Huh. Good guess.
Yeah.
I'll see if my fiance wants.
We'll report that as
my
the
fiance
truth.
still watches the show, so I'll see if she wants to check it out.
How are we doing on time here?
We're a little over an hour.
So holy mackerel!
We didn't get through half the stuff.
You want to read a quick reader?
We'll do a quick reader
to do that
letter, and then we need to go finish the first issue of Games for Windows magazine.
Yeah, which is coming out well, I think.
Yeah, it's turning out well.
Yeah.
We haven't seen one page yet, which is a little scary since we're shipping in like 3.
We've seen some pages.
A little nervous. We have.
We've seen plenty of pages. Ryan, we were just looking.